Hello and welcome back. My name is Sarah. I'm an artist and today I'm going to be trying out some acrylic inks. I've never worked with acrylic inks, so I'm really excited. And I actually don't know much about them. I've just seen a couple of videos of people using them and they look fun. I didn't want to overdo it at first, so I only got 3 colors. I have cerulean blue hue, I got titanium white for mixing, and then I also got sepia. If I could go back, I probably would get like a burnt umber instead of sepia. Burnt umber is kind of like the warm brown, and sepia is like a cool brown, so it has kind of like a blue undertone. It worked really well in this palette because I have a lot of cool colors, but it's all cool colors. If I would have gone with umber, it just would have been a little bit more dynamic, but it's fine. I'm also going to be using my Ferris Wheel Press Dancing Time ink. This is the ink that I use for writing, like journaling and listing and stuff like that. I didn't buy this for art, but I feel like it would work really well. Ferris Wheel Press has amazing inks. First thing that I noticed is you definitely have to shake these bottles a lot. They separate quite easy. And I think that's just because of how watery they are. They're a very fluid medium. And before I get started with painting with these, I kind of just want to play with them. So I'm using the left side of the paper here to just kind of play and experiment and see what I can do with them. I tried to put some water on them after putting it on the page, and I kind of wanted to see if it would reactivate. It's marketed as something that doesn't reactivate, I think, and it didn't. It did spread around a little bit because I don't think it was fully dry. I tried it a couple times, and on this paper, these inks do not reactivate. Now, if you were to put down a layer of gesso or a layer of like regular acrylic paint and then use the acrylic ink, I think it does reactivate. For these purposes, for like using it on paper, it's not going to reactivate. It fully dries into the paper. I also tried mixing them to create some different hues. The blue and white mixed together didn't really look that different, but I think it's because the cerulean blue has a lot of white in it already, and you probably need a lot of white to lighten it up even more. If I would have thought about it, I would have gotten like a dark blue because I had gotten the white, because then I would have the option of having a dark blue, or I could lighten it with a titanium white. In a couple places here, I try to use water to like thin the ink out, and that actually works really well too. So I'm excited to use these for like washes or underpaintings, or even maybe like value studies would be really fun with these because you'd be able to water it down and then build up those values slowly. So moving over onto the right side of the page, I'm actually going to do a full painting with just these inks. I'm using the cerulean blue as my mother color or my unifying color, so this is all going to have like a very dreamy blue tint. To start this painting off, I went in with a watered down version of the cerulean blue. I'm using this as my sketch. I'm getting more into the habit of sketching with the actual paint. There's some things, especially things that I haven't painted a lot of or ever, that I like to use regular old graphite, but I feel like lately I've been getting more in the habit of just using the paint. Some of the sketch kind of gets covered up and like the stones in the water, but I go back in and put those in with the sepia. I was really happy that they were able to layer pretty well. Because they are so fluid, they're not as opaque as like a regular acrylic paint would be, as you could imagine. This wasn't the biggest positive for me because the art style that I've kind of been leaning towards is more like painterly, where you can really see those brush strokes. So the way that I build values is by finding the right color and then completely putting an opaque brush stroke on top of it. If you're the type of person that has more of like a layering technique to their art style, or you really like glazing, these work really well. And I'm actually finding here that a little bit of this ink goes a long way. I knew that that was probably the case because I have actually tried to make paintings with my regular pen ink, the green Ferris Wheel Press ink here. And it's actually really nice because once you load up your brush or your pen, it kind of seems to go on forever. There's just so much pigment packed within the ink. And that kind of also seemed to be the case with these inks as well. Unless you need the ink to be really opaque, it'll keep going for a long while. Obviously, the longer you don't load your brush back up, the more transparent it gets. That could be a positive or negative depending on your techniques, how you like to do art, your style, all those good things. I intentionally didn't get a green because I knew I had the green ink at home. Normally when I do landscapes, I would go for more of like a warm green so I could bring in those like warm sun tones, but this Dancing Time ink is definitely a cool green. All these colors are very cool, so it's a very kind of cold painting. So I wanted to try this technique where you just put the ink on the paper because I know in some spaces I wanted it to be pure white, like for the clouds and the waves or like the breaking of the water. And normally I wouldn't come in with like a pure white or a pure black, but with these inks, they kind of like meld together, especially if they're not all the way dry yet, but they're not completely opaque. Even though I'm going in with pure white, it doesn't appear that way. Like you can still see a lot of the blue pigment underneath of it. In the beginning here, I'm kind of struggling with finding the right values because I wanted to use the blue for the sky, the mountains, and the water. The sky being the lightest value, the mountains being still blue, but a little bit darker value. And they appear blue because they're so far in the distance and you have all of those sky particles in between, so it appears blue. And then you have the water that's blue. The reference photo I actually wasn't able to find because it was a reference photo that I've used before for one of my ACEOs, and I did this painting a while ago, so I've lost the reference photo by now. And I was just using my painting as my reference photo for this one, which I find really helps me improve. I've done that quite a bit. If I can't find like a new reference photo or decide on something that I want to paint, I'll actually reference my own paintings. It's really nice partly because like all of your decisions are mostly made. Just looking at the painting, you kind of are reminded of why you made certain decisions. If there's something that you did that you didn't like and you wish you could change about the painting, you can change in this version of it. Oh, side note, this palette that I'm using over here, this is my regular Meeden palette. I saw someone on TikTok say that you could turn it over and use the back side as a palette because on the back it's all these larger squares. I thought that that would work really well for this ink. I don't know if I believe them though. I don't think that this is meant to be like a separate palette. I mean, obviously you can use it that way. You can use the stuff that you purchase with your own money for however you want to use it. But it's not like the ridges on the squares are kind of textured, almost like they're not glazed, they're not finished. And to me, my first thought would be like that so that it grips onto the table and doesn't slide around. So like it's meant to be on that side, and it didn't really sit right. I had to put like a paper towel underneath of one side so that it didn't like wobble back and forth. And like I said, it worked perfectly fine, and you could definitely use this palette like that, but I don't think that was a feature. I think it's just kind of like a happy accident. I don't know though. I could be wrong about that. So I'm sitting here editing this video and I'm trying to figure out why this paintbrush keeps going into frame and like it's blurry, so it's not on the table. I'm like, what is happening? I had it in my mouth. So anytime this brush is moving, it's me moving my head. I intentionally get long-handled brushes because of my hands and my chronic illness. I didn't even halfway realize that I did this, that I put my brushes in my mouth. Probably shouldn't do that. It's probably toxic. But yeah, I just spent a solid few minutes trying to figure out what this brush was doing. Throughout the video here, you'll see as well that I'm kind of using all kinds of different brushes and techniques. My favorite brush shape lately has definitely been the flat brush. I've been liking the really like angular and crisp edges, but I feel like it would be a complete loss if I didn't use my Chinese calligraphy brushes. I got so many of them because I like them so much. They create really pretty shapes when it comes to like florals and organic shapes like leaves and vines and stuff. Chinese calligraphy and Chinese painting brushes are quite literally meant for ink, so they work really well together. I absolutely love this ink, my Dancing Time green ink. It's my favorite shade of green, And like I said, for this painting, it probably could have used a warm green, but I just love this color and I absolutely did not mind using it. It's definitely thinner than the other ones because it's not an acrylic ink, it's just like a regular pen ink. But to be honest, I didn't mind that because with the grass, I kind of needed different values anyway, and instead of having to mix colors, I just put more layers in the areas that needed a deeper value. For the longest time, this Dancing Time ink was the only Ferris wheel press ink that I had. But after I did this illustration, I went to go get more inks and I got more acrylic inks, and that led me back to looking at Ferris wheel press inks, and they're a little bit more on the expensive side. Each one of these bottles is like $25. In my opinion, it is so worth it. But I did get a second one. I found this one ink that Ferris Wheel Press makes. It's called Royal Rhubarb, and it's a pink, but it's more of like a red pink, not a purple pink. And my justification for getting it was that I was going to participate in Inktober in 4 months. But instead of using black ink, I was going to use the pink ink for Inktober. But of course, once I got it in the mail, I absolutely loved it and wanted to use it. And I've actually switched that out for my Dancing Time. And the Royal Rhubarb has become like my main writing ink. Like I've been journaling with it. There's so much in the bottle though. I'll have plenty for Inktober come that time. But moving back to the acrylic inks, something that really shocked me and I really wasn't anticipating was the finish. It dries very matte. Like this acrylic ink looks like gouache, which is crazy to me because a lot of people, if they want something that looks like gouache, but it dries completely, like it doesn't reactivate, they'll go for acrylic gouache. And I'm very surprised that you don't hear more about acrylic inks. I mean, it doesn't have gouache in the name, obviously, and maybe that's why, but it looks exactly like gouache. I think the only downside would be that it's not completely opaque, but you could definitely work with it if you just didn't water it down at all. Like you just worked with the viscosity that it comes with. But the colors are very bright like gouache. It dries completely matte like gouache, and it doesn't reactivate. Not on paper anyway, if you use it on paper. And I can't really give you a comparison, and not a fair one, because I've never used acrylic gouache, but I would think that this would be a better alternative. I did go back and I ordered more acrylic inks. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to make a video of those inks because I kind of decided that this wasn't something that I wanted to pursue further, which kind of sucks to think about because I only got 3 because I was like, okay, I'm going to try it out. And if I don't really like it all that much, then I won't get any more. I did this illustration. I was like, yeah, I really like these. And I think I got really excited because it dried matte and it really reminded me of gouache. But it's not opaque enough for the techniques that I've been working with. Not to say that I won't use it at all. I can use it for underpaintings and for value studies and stuff like that. I'll still use them. But I just wish I came to the conclusion that they weren't going to be a main part of my repertoire before I got the other ones. So just in case I don't make a video on them, which I don't think that I'm going to because I'm kind of getting backed up with footage. I've said it before, but like I make a lot of art. If I made a video for every single piece of art that I made, we'd be here every day. And I would not have the time to make all those videos. But I got a magenta. I did go back and I got that dark blue. I got a bright orange, not fluorescent. I'm not a fan of fluorescence, but it is very bright. I got a yellow ochre, which I might regret. I keep wanting yellow ochre to work, and it never works out the way I want it to. But I got that. I got Hooker's green, so I don't have to use my Ferris wheel press ink anymore, and Hooker's green is actually a warm green, and I think that's it. At the end of the day, I don't regret buying them. I just don't think that I'm going to use them as much as I thought I would when I first bought them. I've been having a lot of fun trying different techniques with them. Like in a couple of my paintings, I've tried to do like splatters. They're obviously really good for that because they're really fluid. I want to try some like drip techniques. They would be perfect for that, obviously. But I don't know that I've ever created art that had anything dripping in it. I'll have to plan something out for that. but also just underpaintings. I feel like even if I hadn't originally bought them to actually create paintings from, I've always wanted some inks for creating underpaintings. I always specifically wanted a fluorescent pink for underpaintings, but I found out with just regular old acrylic paint that the hot pink background, it's just not for me. That's just, it's not my vibe, and it's blinding. Okay, if you're a person that uses a fluorescent pink underpainting, how do you see? Like, it warps the colors so much, and it literally just blinds me. And I feel like if I stared at it too long, I could get a headache. Specifically, the fluorescent pink that I'm talking about specifically right now is the Meeden acrylic paint. Their fluorescents are brighter than the sun. But anyway, I will use these acrylic inks for underpaintings. If for nothing else, I know that they'd be really good for that. And I feel like every color that I got would be an underpainting that I would use and have used in the past. So getting back to this coastal flowery painting, or it's supposed to be flowers. I think by this point I was over it, unfortunately. I really did like the water and the waves that are hitting up against the rocks. I love the way that those turned out. But I just was not liking these flowers, and I think I needed a more opaque medium. Like, I should have stopped being so strict with myself and just got out the regular acrylic paint to do the flowers, because then it would have looked fine. But I was being really strict and like only letting myself use these 4 colors. I go in quite a few times with the white ink, and I'm trying to build up those values. And by the time I got to like the 3rd layer, like they don't look like flowers. And in the original painting, if you remember, those flowers even were very impressionistic. They weren't like hyper-realism, but the impression of the flowers in this painting, like, I don't even know what they look like. Like maybe like snow on the ground. Something that I really love, and I think I just love the water all around. I like how the inks made the water look, but these little tiny dots of the sea foam on the waves and everything, or they could even kind of be like reflections. I really like that and how that turned out. I like the whole thing, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of nitpicking at this point. But if we're being honest, those flowers and my frustration with them, I think that's what turned me off of the acrylic inks. Maybe I should try more. Maybe not. If we're being honest, from here, I really just want to get back into doing acrylic paint, because I feel like that's the one that I always keep going back to. I like these acrylic inks, and I really like gouache, especially for like something quick, because I have all my gouaches in one spot, like in that one palette in my last video. If I want to like just start a quick painting, I really like gouache, but if you had to ask me to pick one medium, it has to be acrylic paint. Which is funny to me because it's the cheapest one, it's the first one, and I've gone through so much art supplies and so much trial and error and experimentation just to end up back where I started, which honestly I don't regret. I've had a lot of fun, I've created a lot of art, and I probably never will lock myself down to one medium, but I think at this point I've decided that my favorite is the acrylic paint. Looking back on it now, I actually really do like this painting. It kind of gives me like winter on the coast almost. It's a very cool painting. There's no warm colors in here, which is a mood. I like how everything came together. I love how the inks make the water look. It makes it very easy to portray waves. For my video next week, I think I pretty much decided that I'm just going to go back to acrylic paint. I did get more inks and I'll probably try to incorporate them, but I won't do another video of just acrylic ink. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like. I'm just getting back into this whole YouTube thing, so all this support helps, of course. The likes, the subscribes, the hype. I don't know what the hype is yet. I need to I need to research that. I'll be back next week with another video. If you want some more artwork from me in the meantime, check out my links on my page to my other socials. I create art pretty much every night, but I will see you here again next week. Bye.